Today we have the third of our consecutive daily games that we had over the Christmas period, but probably more important than that, a massive FA Cup tie against Premier League Newcastle. Hello and welcome to part 116 of Backing the Boro. I'm Kev, and I don't know why I told you what was coming up in the intro bit. I normally do that here. That's all gone wrong. Stevenage away and Newcastle at home. There you go, we'll do it anyway. You know what? You know nothing's happened since you were last with me because we literally played yesterday and we won and we were quite convincing. But now we get our third game in 3 days away against Stevenage. If you didn't watch yesterday's episode with the explanation of how this situation has occurred, go back and watch yesterday's episode. But once we've got that, we've not as rotated a team as you would think. We're going to then play Newcastle the following weekend in an attempt to get a draw, go back to St James's Park and get some monies. That's the important thing about that game. We don't want to win it, we want to draw it. So, this is the team we're putting out there for today's game against Stevenage. And rather surprisingly, I know they're all down in the sort of 80s and low 90s, but players who we were talking about in yesterday's episode about surely won't be fit enough to play in this match, like Kent Wheatley, who was absolutely destroyed by the hour mark of yesterday's episode. His fitness has recovered remarkably, so we're not actually hugely rotated. The hero of yesterday, James Russell, does drop out of the team though, and Richardson comes in because, like I said in yesterday's episode, Richardson is fully fresh. He hasn't played in any of the previous 2 games, so him and Jake Lang are our 2 players who are coming in full of freshness and fitness, because they haven't been playing in the previous games. So we've got Hugo in goal, a back 4 of O'Brien, Taggart, Sawyer and Lang, with Lenton, Barron and Denny in midfield and Richardson in behind Ruggles and Wheatley. We need a special shout out to, I think it's only Hugo and Sawyer who have played in all 3 of these games now. Josh Sawyer, just proving once again why he's an absolute hero for us. I mean, I'm not even tired, boss. Not even tired. I scored in the last game. Not even tired. I'm fine. He's up to 345 games for us now. I think, despite many years of me trying to sell him, I might actually finally be convinced that not only is he any good, but also he's got a good few years ahead of him. He's going to break Joe Anderson's club record for appearances. And you know what? He might even become captain at some point too, because I am finally convinced by Joshua Sawyer. Watch him be an absolute disaster today. Did I do the team? I feel like I did the team. I probably did the team. And even if I tried to do it now, with that helicopter going over really low, you wouldn't be able to hear me do it anyway. Unless my microphone's better than I think, and you didn't hear the helicopter. In which case, there was I've got the door open. There was a helicopter. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's gone now. Right. Why have Stevenage got such an enormous ground? This cannot be the situation for Stevenage in real life, surely. I didn't notice either if they've got James Laskowski in their team. I know he did play for them against us earlier in the season. I assume he'd be their number 5. Because why wouldn't you give him the number 5? James Laskowski's number 5. We all know that. Ruggles plays it back to Richardson. Denny, no, I guess Garner is their number 5. Perhaps Laskowski's not in their team anymore. He was earlier in the year. Can we have him back? I mean, if he's available on the cheap in January, it's worth bringing him in just so we've got another option for situations where we have to play 3 games in 3 days. Wheatley puts us 1-0 up though, and I'm pretty sure neither of those centre-backs are Laskowski. We'll have a look when the teams are back on screen. But if there's a potential that we can bring him back in, I'm not averse to bringing him back in if the price is right. I think we sold him for like 50,000. I don't really want to buy him back at a loss. So we're going to have to get him mega cheap. But we could have used him over these 3 games. Right, he is not even on their bench. Ollie Longdon is on the bench, who they poached from us the year we got relegated. They used his relegation release clause to get him for about £500,000. So they've got Ollie Longdon as a former Nuneaton player, but also not playing him. Weird. Why would they not play their former Nuneaton heroes? What has gone on with our defence there? That was a brilliant saving tackle. I think that was James Ball in with that tackle. Ruggles, eventually it goes over the top from Lenton. It's Richardson who's in because he's fresh. He's full of energy. And fires over. Is there any more of our former heroes in their team? Because I think we've sold a number of players to Stevenage over the last few seasons, but it doesn't look like any of them have made it into their starting 11, which is probably why we're going to stuff them. Sawyer, big ball forward towards Ruggles, who plays it on to Wheatley. We've got Richardson with a run through the middle. Ruggles plays it to Denny, though, who appeared from absolutely nowhere. Where on earth did Alex Denny come from? It's a beautiful finish. I didn't even notice his run. I think he put on stealth mode to make that run. Is that Denny there? Starting from miles back, just tracing this run through. That, for a 32-year-old, that's pretty much perfect Mazzala play from Alex Denny. What a hero. He's stepping into the Anderson-shaped void in our central midfield. And Wheatley with the chance to put us 3-0 up and just completely mishits it. It was just rubbish. But, you know, we've got Dan Fisher on the bench who he's still not broken the record. He'll be fine. He'll come on today, maybe. Might bring Afsharian on. Haven't decided. Might bring them both on. Who knows? Lenton. Over to Barron. Barron plays it forward to Denny, who doesn't know what colour we play in, apparently. O'Brien picks it up again. I don't want to tempt fate, but Darragh O'Brien seems to have calmed down a little bit in recent games and hasn't got himself sent off for quite a long time. So perhaps he's matured into a proper Championship player now. Ball forward to Ruggles. Ruggles squares it to Wheatley, who can't get on the end of it. And don't look at that. We're not talking about that yet. But it's interesting, isn't it? Just this whole area of the screen that we're neither looking at nor talking about. There are interesting things on there. Wheatley plays Ruggles in and Ruggles fires it straight at that keeper. We've had 6 clear-cut chances in this first half. If we go on to somehow lose this game, there's going to be 4 players fired. Probably from the under-18s. We can't lose first-team players. But I don't think it's going to happen anyway. I don't want to have to fire anybody. Well, I don't know if we can afford to fire anybody. We're so desperately in debt, we probably can't afford to pay anybody off. So, no, there'll be no firings. I mean, that's why we have to win. We can say that to the players to motivate them. The lads who clean your boots are going to get fired. Oh, they don't like the lads who clean their boots. Taggart, what are you doing there? I was talking about you yesterday being the hero of our defence. And you've not done very well here, have you? Let's have a look. This cross comes in. Taggart playing everybody on side. He's like, I don't know, 1.5 yards, 2 yards behind the rest of the back four. I'm no football expert, but I don't think he's supposed to be stood there. If he stood in line with Sawyer and the fullbacks, their striker's not there to score because he can't get into that gap. So I don't really know what Taggart's up to there. Richardson plays it to Lenton, to Wheatley, and Wheatley hits the post. We needed a goal there, Kent. And now tiredness starts to set in for both teams. I mean, this is going to be messy now for the rest of this game because everyone's shattered. It could go either way. We haven't capitalised when we needed to, when we had all those chances in the first half, and we're now just tired. And we're also probably half thinking about Newcastle in a week's time and not wanting to get injured. Lenton plays Wheatley in again, who he can't get the shot away. Neither can Ruggles. They both just sort of stood there and looked at that as if they were waiting for the Stevenage players to get out of the way so they could have a shot. And we're losing out on every ball there. They're just getting tackles in and closing us down. They're playing our game. And now they're rushing down and Hugo makes a decent save but can't save the follow-up and it's 2-2. And there's a couple of under-18 players starting to twitch a little bit as they're worried about what might be about to happen. Stevenage are another team who are down in the relegation zone. We talked about this yesterday, how Southend were a relegation-threatened team and we struggled against them. Swindon, who were a promotion-chasing team, we thumped. Now we're facing Stevenage, a relegation-threatened team, and we're struggling again. I think we can only play against good teams, which is weird. Why would that be? Right, what on earth can we do about this situation we've got ourselves into? Tommy Taggart's not playing very well. Josh Sawyer's shattered. Hughes isn't on the bench, though. We've got the wrong Hughes. I mean, in theory, he can play centre-back, but it seems a stupid time to bring him on and get him to have a go. So let's take off O'Brien and bring on Taylor. I tell you what, let's get James Russell into the team because he was a hero yesterday. And just shuffle the midfielder. I mean, that's made that midfield so much stronger. And for my last trick, in fact, no, we'll wait. Everyone's tired. We're going to pick up an injury. Let's try and be sensible. I'm hoping Russell can carry on the match-winning form that he had in yesterday's episode and yesterday's match. And and somehow grab a piece of genius out of somewhere. But obviously we're playing him in a different position now to what you played yesterday, because Richardson's still on the pitch. Richardson's not impressed at all. Gary Barlow's been sent off for Stevenage. Now what do we do? I think now is the time for Dan Fisher. Dan, come do what you do. You're going to come on for Ruggles. You got 10 minutes. Go Dan Fisher this game. Get yourself that step closer to your all-time top goal scorer record. If you score now, Dan, you get to start against Newcastle. How about that? Does that sound good? You're saving all those under-18s and you get to start against a Premier League opposition. I think that's worth a goal, Dan. Come on now. No? We've got 5 minutes left and we're struggling to get hold of the ball, but Denny does intercept, and it's Richardson. What a goal from Albert Richardson. I told you he was going to be the difference maker today. Oh, Albert Richardson using his freshness. Everyone else around him has played 3 games over the last 3 days. Albert Richardson's going yeah, it's just a normal Sunday for me. I had a good Christmas, had a bit of turkey, spent some time with the family, then turned up 2 days later to play some football. Easy. Oh, and here's a goal for your trouble. And now we've just got to hold on for the last couple of minutes. Although it'd still be nice to see Dan Fisher get his goal and earn the spot against Newcastle. And here's his opportunity to do that. It's Fisher back to Taylor, who I don't even know what he's trying there. Was that supposed to be a cross? It was just poor. But importantly, we've won the game. And that leaves us, points-wise, sitting pretty, I think. Let's have a little look at the league table. We're not looking at positions yet. Positions don't exist yet. What is important, though, 41 points. 3 wins away from safety. And then we'll have a look to see what position. We don't know what position we are in the league yet. Presumably lower mid-table. That seems about right for a relegation escaping season. Once we hit 50 points, we'll glance up just to see if there's any way we can push up into mid-table. Right, let's play Newcastle. Just the 2 changes for the Newcastle game then, both in the defence. Hughes coming back in to play alongside Taggart, and Ibrahim coming back in for Lang. Everything else stays exactly as it is, mainly because I don't really have much in the way of other midfield players. I think I'm probably going to look to bring a midfielder in over the course of January. And Wheatley and Ruggles looking good. Richardson scored a wonder goal. It's a little bit harsh on James Russell, and James Ball's absolutely filling his underpants with excrement. Looking at these two, why did I say that? This goes on the internet. Looking at these 2 attacking midfielders come into the team and both take their chances. But he's just going to have to bide his time. He's been down this road before. He knows what to expect. Yes, we're long shots. We need to downplay our chances in this game. We are at Liberty Way, though, and I'd always back us at Liberty Way. Newcastle seem to be playing in all black shirts. Are you telling me that Newcastle's home kit, which is black and white stripes, is coupled with an away kit, which is black? Right, Chris Ruggles is already injured. So Dan Fisher, despite not scoring in the Stevenage game, still gets on against Newcastle after 6 minutes. And, I mean, goals in this game don't even count towards his total. It's a league total we're looking for. He'll probably get a hat-trick, just because the goals don't count for anything, although obviously beating Newcastle would be a lot of fun. I know financially we're supposed to draw this game, but that won't take any of the pleasure away from a win if we manage to pull one off, which I think is incredibly unlikely. But you never know. I've done something I've never done before during the course of this save, by the way. When Dan Fisher, there you go, scores. Doesn't count, but it counts in the game. Doesn't count towards his total. And I've never seen Dan Fisher do a cartwheel before, but apparently he can do a cartwheel. A very impressive one it was too. But throughout this save, I've always been very, very conservative with my board expectations. And our expectation for this year was still the whole battle bravely against relegation thing. But they offered me an extra £100,000 of transfer budget and an extra £10,000 a week of wage budget to bump that up to avoid a relegation battle. I could have had even more by moving it to mid-table, which is still below where we are right now. Now Wheatley's injured as well. So in the first 10 minutes of this game, Newcastle have crocked both of our strikers. I mean, that's just dirty and unnecessary. They're the Premier League team. Do they have to break both of our strikers in the first 10 minutes of the game? And it directly leads to a goal as well. I mean, I'm quite frankly disgusted at what they've done to Ruggles and Wheatley there. I don't even know who the other striker we've got on the bench is. Presumably Afsharin. It could be Stainsby if he's fit again, though. I didn't look who my assistant manager put on the bench. It is Stainsby. So Ollie Stainsby comes on, and he definitely wouldn't have been expecting to get anywhere near the pitch today, but he's on after 10 minutes, and I'd quite like to not get any more injuries to any players, but particularly strikers, because that will change my January transfer policy if we get another striker injury, because I don't want to be stuck in the situation we're in with the midfield, where we've got some good midfield players, but so many of them get injured that we have to buy a new one. Dan Fisher's just made it 2-1. What did I tell you? I called a Dan Fisher hat-trick today, and he's going to go and do it, isn't he? I mean, again, I'm not complaining. Dan, go and get a hat-trick if you want to get a hat-trick against Newcastle. It's fine. It might encourage a Premier League team to offer us £5 million for you, which we'd absolutely bite their arms off for, because you're a squad player who's getting on a bit. But, you know, go score your goals, have your fun. But please do this in the league. We all want you to break the all-time record goal scorer record, because I don't think it'll ever be beaten. Just like I've said before with the appearance records, Joe Anderson's one probably will be broken by Sawyer and or Ball, probably both of them. But no one's ever going to have more appearances than that group of players. The Anderson, Ball, Sawyer group, who are now all way past Sir Tom Elliott's previous record. But those three, no one's getting near them, because we'll never have another player who stays with us for as long as they have, because I'd like to think we're going to be in the Premier League in the next 2 or 3 years, and then we'll need 3 different squads to work our way up the Premier League, I imagine. There aren't going to be many players. I would say there are no players currently in the team who will be in our mid-table Premier League team. There might be some in our relegation battle Premier League team, but there'll be none of these players in our mid-table Premier League team, and none of the relegation battle Premier League team will still be in the squad when we have our title-winning Premier League team, and none of the mid-table Premier League squad will still be in the squad when we win the Champions League. It's just the nature of getting up to that level. We've had the same team pretty much from the Conference North up to the Conference National up to the Championship. We've brought in a few players along the way, but that core of the team has always been the same. You can't do that from the bottom half to the top half of the Premier League, though. It's such a difficult league to manage in when you're a little team like this. Not that I've ever done it with quite such a small team before, in such a small ground, which they won't even let us use in the Premier League, I imagine, which will be interesting to see how the potential ground glitch that we've got going on works out. Imagine we get to the Premier League and then the game just breaks because it wants to build us a new ground but thinks it already is. Oh, someone reassure me in the comments that whole thing is normal after they cancel a new ground. Has anyone had a new ground cancelled before? I've never had it happen, let alone for planning permission from the council. The club were ready to do it and the council said no, idiots. I mean, this is a situation where we move out of that council's jurisdiction, surely, move down the road. How big is Nuneaton's council? Can we go 3 or 4 miles away and not be under jurisdiction of that council anymore? So, all right, you don't get the football club anymore then. We'll move it down the road a little bit. I think that might be the course of action we have to take, because we need this new ground, or else we're going to end up playing all our games in Coventry, which I guess is just down the road anyway and probably would be the place that we'd go to. Right, we need to make a change, and we're going to bring on Lewis Taylor at left back, because O'Brien not having the best of games. And can I point out, all this waffle, we're 2-1 up against Newcastle with 20 minutes to go. We're still on control. We ain't changing that. Come at us, Newcastle. Now Lee Hugo's injured. Newcastle are just proper dirty. I mean, they deserve to get knocked out at the FA Cup. An equaliser here would be good for our coffers, though. So, you know, if you want to lie down any Nuneaton players and just let Newcastle score, that would be our original goal. But no, we've beaten them. Thanks to Dan Fisher. I'm certainly not going to complain at doing that. And it gives us the opportunity to have a little bit of an FA Cup run now, which will probably be worth just as much money as the Newcastle game in and of itself would have been. So, all in all, very successful episode, and hopefully on our next episode you get to meet a couple of new signings. I have a couple in mind. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos, and thank you very much for watching.